Hi there, welcome to What's Happening in Brazil. Let's start with the latest from the country.
Though the rate of contagion and number of deaths remain high, the COVID-19 pandemic seems to be slowing down in Brazil. On July 6th, the moving average of fatalities sat at 1,558. During the month of April, the worst point in the pandemic, this same average hit 3,124 deaths. According to experts, the vaccine may be behind this improvement. Now, around 15% of the population has taken both doses of the vaccine, and it is possible to see a decrease in the number of elderly people in ICU wards. However, specialists warn that it is necessary to keep health measures, such as the use of masks, in place, especially after 2 deaths caused by the Delta variant of Indian origin were registered in the country. According to a study in which the Fiocruz Institute, one of Brazil's most prestigious research entities, took part, the Delta variant brings with it more risk of reinfection. The immune response of those who have already been infected by the coronavirus is weaker against the Delta variant. This weakness seems to be even greater in the case of people who were first infected with the Gamma variant, identified for the first time in the Brazilian city of Manaus at the start of the year. On July 5th, the federal government announced that the emergency financial aid paid to low-income families during the pandemic will continue until the month of October. The previous plan was to cut off the aid at the end of July. The emergency assistance began being paid out in April of 2020, after a lot of pressure from civil society and opposition parties. At the outset, the amount paid was 600 reais, around $115. The emergency aid was suspended in 2021 for 3 months and was reinstated only in April, with a much smaller payment. Today, the average emergency aid payment is 250 reais, which is the equivalent of less than $50. Despite pressure from civil society demanding that the aid return to its previous amounts, the finance ministry refuses to do so. Currently, around 15 million Brazilians are out of work and more than half of the population is suffering from some form of food insecurity.
In Florianópolis, the state capital of Santa Catarina, residents have united against a real estate development project that has been destroying the environment. Construction had already been halted in 2017, but was restarted last month.
With tractors and destruction of the native vegetation. It was in such a way that a construction project halted in 2017 was resumed during the month of June in an area of 9 hectares of sand dunes, restingas, and hydrographic reserves in Florianópolis. For 3 traditionalist communities that live in areas surrounding the project, the effects of the devastation are still very clear.
In 1 week, they destroyed 2 huge untouched parcels of land containing native vegetation, such as restinga, containing wildlife, all of which were frightened, marmosets, toucans, running into our residences.
The plot is located on one of the main sweetwater reservoirs in southern Florianópolis Island, the Açores Aquifer. The location is also home to an archaeological site. The family staged daily protests against the development, which ended up being embargoed yet again by the National Historic and Artistic Heritage Institute. The communities now fight for a permanent end to the project.
I say that it was an attack against the environment, against our traditionalist population, and an attack against humanity, because polluting so much as to destroy a water reserve, an aquifer, is not only a crime against the environment, but also a crime against humanity.
According to residents, if construction continues, it may affect the aquifer. The main concern is with sewage. The developer wants to build more than 200 residential lots in an area where there is no public sewage treatment system. For many natives and environmentalists, this episode is a reflection of how the environment is being treated in the country. Under the tutelage of former Environment Minister Ricardo Salles, protectionist policies for restingas and mangroves were revoked. Though these changes were barred by the federal Supreme Court, disregard to environmental protection persists. This is what former Environment Minister Carlos Mink, who led the agency during the Lula administration, explains.
We must always have our eyes wide open, even more so during times of obscurantism and disregard. Salles left, but the anti-environmentalist deeds are right there. Therefore, we have to think of the environmental question today as a link in the chain of resistance and as an important factor for a future societal recovery program, since rebuilding all that they are destroying will take a lot of work.
Now let's get to know a good example of environmental preservation. In the state of Mato Grosso, local cattle raiders known as retireiros live in harmony with the cycles of the Araguaia River.
a life that follows the cycles of the Araguaia River. Between May and November, when the waters recede, the Retireiros, who are local cattle herders who retreat to greener, communal pastoral lands during the dry season, leave their homes in the cities and move down to the pastures alongside their cattle. There is where the native brush used as feed for the animals grows.
Due to being an area with free-range livestock, closer care has to be taken. So the men take on this more intense duty of taking off in the middle of the night to fetch the cattle far away, because the area is very expensive. In the homestead of the Retireiros, cattle is always spoken of. The ones that went missing, the cow that gave birth, the bull that's sick. So something very interesting in the community is that we all take care of each other's cattle.
This is a natural pasture, so there is no need to remove the native vegetation and plant a variety of brush that comes all the way from Africa and needs a bunch of supplies, needs tractor to compact the soil. So in this case, it's a form of cattle herding much more integrated with the native vegetation. So the cattle may be coming through, and alongside we may have an emo grazing as well. So it's a local where the fauna can move around, where the highlands are able to bear fruits, where biodiversity is maintained.
The community was born in the 1940s. The name Retireiro comes from the word retiro, which means retreat, and refers to the riverside dwellings they inhabit during the dry season. It's a time of hard work with the cattle, but also to take advantage of being in contact with nature.
We go in order to be in touch with the lake, to go fishing, and also to take a break from this modern world of technologies. So we go to the land to have a moment of being more in touch with family, with friends. The lakes are very beautiful. There is a famous river dolphin here, which is good-natured. People play with him. It's a very good time within the territory.
However, the Retireiros' traditional way of life is under threat with the advancement of agribusiness and illegal land grabbing. Because of this, they have been trying to create a sustainable development reservation on the riverbanks since 2003. The embroidery made by the women are an important tool in this fight for land, besides being a source of income for them. With colorful lines, they strengthen community identity and outline the hopes and dreams for the territory.
We are proud to say that, although we raise cattle, we have a well-preserved natural environment.
My dream is that it stays the same way as it was when I was a child, when I was young.
And now it's time for Brazilianese.
Hoje nem vem de garfo.
Today I'll be making a soup. This recipe here is made with almost nothing. It's a bread, egg, seasoning, water and olive oil soup. That's it. I love this type of recipe in which we use and reuse what we have at home. In this one we'll reuse leftover bread. Yesterday's, the day before yesterday's bread. I'll slice it. This will be the basis of the soup. I'll start by toasting the bread. I'll place them on the frying pan and turn the heat on very low so that the slices toast equally and don't burn, just like this, with no oil or anything. Here I'll start making the broth, the soup proper. Olive oil, garlic. I'll also leave it on low heat in order for it to be well seasoned. For us to allow all the aroma from the seasonings to be released, I'll begin with this garlic here on low fire. It will give scent to the olive oil and will slowly release the flavor. Salt. I will add a chopped stick of cilantro. For those who don't like cilantro, you can switch it for parsley. 1 bay leaf. An important tip is, don't let the garlic turn brown. My aromatic base is ready. I'm gonna add water, lots of water. I'm already taking the bread out. It's toasted on both sides, ready to go into the soup. I'm adding the slices of bread to the bottom of the dish. I made a nest of bread. The egg will put right on top here. Have a look, the broth has already boiled. I'll turn the heat down and put the eggs in. You can cook the egg however much you like. For me, it's more than ready. I took the egg here, I'll remove the excess broth and put it on top of the bread nest. Now I'll turn the heat up again and wrap the soup up with cilantro, chives, black pepper and stir it up. Then all you have to do is put this broth in the bowl.
liked the show, so hit the like button and share with your friends. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel to receive notifications. We'll see you next week.